short note, like I'm Neha Patel and I am a CDM professional from last 10 years. So also based on my experience in this industry, I would like you to take through CDM careers and its evolving roles in the drug development process. So when you think about clinical research, few things needs your attention. So we'll take a broader idea here from the clinical research, and then we'll narrow down to how clinical data management plays an important role in clinical research. So what attention clinical research needs, like what researchers are studying, what does the study require? Is it inpatient study research or the outpatient or non-interventional? Several aspects. So it is not always what people, most of the students which I have met understand that it's only about a new medication or device or always about the patients. It is all, sometimes many studies are like healthy volunteers might also be included for the comparative study with diseased population and healthier volunteers. So based on these requirements, research type is decided. So here you see major types of research which are conducted, and it's not always about it's like it's only one kind of research going on. So several. So I'll just give you an idea about treatment research. As the name says, it's all about the treatments which are going on in the study. Prevention trials look at where a particular treatment can help prevent the disease. Screening test people, with the early signs, and before they have any major symptoms of the disease, they are going through the screening test, and which is led to a screening research. And also screening trials are also to see if the new tests are reliable enough to detect particular types of medical condition. So the most important, then the important thing, quality of life, which has come up from last few decades, that quality of life research. The quality of life is also important when it comes to the patients, how they are dealing with the conditions they have. If they are not having conditions, how they are assessing their own development of, or reducing the risk of obviously life-threatening conditions. So yeah, these are the clinical research types which are ongoing. Moving to, so when we further narrow down, I would suggest that, yeah, there are clinical trials which are going, most of us have heard about clinical trials, but when it comes to design of the clinical trial, it's also very important how it is designed. And so they are designed based on the set of objectives, methods, and the outcomes that are planned and expected out of that clinical trial. So as a data manager, I will say, you will say why we need to know clinical design. This is not the data, but no, as a data manager, when you get in study, it is very important to know what kind of study we are working on and what all we need to know. So once we know the design, you'll be able to deal with the data which is going to be there in the clinical trial. So that helps you understand why this trial, how it's conducted, and what you want to achieve from this trial. So data manager point of view, these aspects are very important. So there's a reason we are going to take a short note on this clinical trial designs to understand. So when you come up with when you start working with your job, you have an idea, okay, we know what all designs are, and this is what design I'll be working on this particular study. Okay. So I'll define a short definition about like analytical studies, a type of design, descriptive studies, and complex designs. So in analytical studies, they are usually used to test hypotheses on small scale or large scale study trials, okay, which further narrows down to interventional and observational. So when it comes to analytical studies, they are either experimental, where the treatment is given, or they are just observational. They just observe, as the word says, it's an observation. So when it comes to treatment, it is for the question that are the subjects which are participated in the clinical trial will be randomized or will not be randomized. Randomized are allocation to treatment. Basic understanding of randomization is randomized into what kind of treatment the subject will be getting. Okay, so it is randomized control, where they are allocated treatment and the different groups as a random process. Okay, why this is very important. So you will hear a lot about randomized control trials, RCTs, most of the trials are. So why they are conducted. So there are left referral or reverse bias which takes place during the clinical trials. So random allocation helps to reduce the selection bias, what kind of group they are selecting, allocation bias. I mean, if you know some person, okay, I'll allocate the, treatment instead of the placebo. So, this bias is not good for clinical trial. You do not get the data good. And also, these help in blinding the participants and caregivers. So clinical trial, it happens, happens on the real-time basis. So you have to make sure that it is no bias in selection and giving. If there is if you know you are a doctor, and if some of your very close relatives needs treatment, which is in the clinical trial, there bias might be created that, okay, I'll give the preference. That is unethical. That should not happen. So that's the reason randomized trials and help in blinding the personnel who are performing the trial. And obviously that leads to reduces the performance bias. Okay, so moving on, the next non-randomized trials, as simple study investigator randomizes the treatment for the patients. So study investigator is a medical person who knows what are the inclusion criteria, what the patient or the subject is going through, and what is the best treatment for them. So they will be able to randomize. It is not automated. It is based on several criteria and checklists they perform before giving them in treatment. All right. So yeah. Next is observational. Next major part of the studies are the observational studies, where we see there are different comparisons being done, which is cross-sectional, cohort, and case control. So here you see that there is a prospective approach, which is called cohort-based approach, retrospective approach, which is in case control as well as cohort control, and also which is cross-sectional. It's like simultaneous events are studied together and compared together in this observational kind of studies. All right. Okay, so next is descriptive studies. The descriptive studies, again, as the name suggests, they describe what kind of data and what kind of analysis you do. So here there is no patient involved, but the only data is involved. There are case reports, case series, and surveys, and statistical research, which is done on already existing data. They do a study on that. So these are one kind of clinical trials as well. And coming to the complex designs, which is more prominent and has become core requirement for the data manager. Why? This is, I think, so as per my experience, complex designs has made us the clinical data managers given a more scope of growth and more activities, more exposure to the clinical research things. So what are these designs? They are like master protocol designs, or you can say adapter designs. So why we call master protocol? Because in master protocol designs, they are involved, the objectives the involved and coordinated efforts are between the multiple designs and multiple sub studies. So there is a complexity level added at each and every step of that particular complex design of the protocol. Okay, so to evaluate more than one investigational drug. So there are studies which will have like comparative as well as investigative drugs, more than 10 drugs. Just imagine how complicated that protocol will be, that if they're involving so many medications in one study to compare. So how much data it will be produced, how much checks and everything will come, and how the data analysis goes critically. Okay, so this is not a scary part, obviously, but you need to understand why we data managers are becoming data science. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, there was some unmuting. Please mute yourself. Thank you. So going to the umbrella, just give you a short definition about the names which are given. You might hear when you go on this clinical trial domain. It's umbrella, basket, platform studies. So umbrella, it says it studies that examine multiple drugs for one indication. You understand? Multiple drugs for only one indication. So that those studies are called umbrella studies or umbrella trial designs. Basket studies is examining one drug for multiple indications, and platform studies examining multiple drugs for multiple indications. So it becomes a very big platform, right? Basically the understanding of this trials. Okay, so moving on to the next. So yeah, like the study design said, and like I said, how data manager are evolving their roles. There are also the trial processes where these are the basic clinical trial process which I'm going to take you through. Not specifically on data management point of view, but you need to know this because, like I said, you need to know the trial design. You need to know what your trial is in which phase. So and what is going to do. So to understand the protocol you receive at your job is how you have an understanding of this process. So it starts with pre-discovery, then it goes to drug discovery, then it's preclinical development and clinical development. In clinical development, the phases which will go through, the drug will go through 4 phases, like phase 0, which is called exploratory phase, phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So phase 0 is not always for all the trials, but you should know what it is. Okay, so exploratory trial is like first microdose is given to some very small population just to study metabolism profile and pharmacokinetics. Okay, then phase 2 is like first full dose given first time. It is like first time the full dose is given, and safety PKs, pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, and the dose tolerance range is decided. Also, phase 2, next, which is a step, the severity increase. I mean, the population is also increasing. You can see the graphics here. It says how much population is included in each phases. So the population increased, and more data is collected, and more assessments are performed. So in phase 2, severity of the disease, dose range, PKPDs, nature of the side effects, and severity of the side effects is assessed. Okay, phase 3 is phase 3 is where efficacy is defined, like if it is a definitely evident efficacy is shown by the drug, and what are the long-term safety concerns or the assessments, what we should take care of, what are the comparative treatments which we can compare to see which one is going well, and identify the optimum dose of any molecule or any drug which is under development. Okay, following that, once the phase 3 study is finished and we achieved the objective and the endpoints which was defined in that particular study protocol, we move to FDA review and approval. Once the FDA review and approval happens, it goes on post-market evaluation, which is phase 4. All right, to the next. Okay, so now we have finally narrowed it down, like, okay, knowing the research, clinical trial design, clinical trial process, how it goes, what is CDM and why it is, how it is evolving, and why it has become so much important in the clinical trial. So it's not like just doing a data entry or manual review like before, like data was collected on paper and then transferred to EDC. Lots of data, ECRF scanning were done. So a lot of manual work is now it's automated, and it is evolving. Like you need more expert level data managers on that. No doubt, no one is born data manager expert, but you learn. Obviously, you learn with what you are put through, but to have the basic knowledge and what you will be learning is more important. That's the reason we see how data management will work. Okay, so in coming slides, we will see during which steps of clinical trial data management rules are involved, why and how clinical data plays a critical role in every step of the research, what are the core activities performed by the clinical data manager, what are the expectations from clinical data manager, and why CDM job is best to start with. So like Dr. Ajit said, we will have an introduction to each of so each of them, but in detail technicalities we will be taking to 17th of July, taking on 17th of July, right? Okay. So CDM evolution, the very first, how is CDM role evolving? So like you said, there is one graph which I see, there is a clinical data usage, which is, put it front in the graph, or like how it has increased. Why it has increased? Because we have lots of e-sources coming up used in the clinical trials. Like if you see at the bottom, it's like informed consent, it's e-informed consent, it's not paper, ECOA, electronic PRO forms, smartphones, e-sources, other resources. So all these electronic and other monitoring devices, which captures the patient data, has increased how much data, because it is convenient for the patients to give the data electronically. The data pool has become a lot, and that's what has increased the data, one of the thing which has increased demand for clinical data management resources. All right. So also with that increase, there is increase in scope of work. So it's not only, like I said earlier, it's not only data entering and manual review of the listings we get in the Excel file. No, it has become much more in a graphical way, in a statistical point of view. We foresee the risk and everything. It's okay. And the next is like we have an exposure to multiple operational roles, not only exposure to, but we ourselves as a CDM data manager, we have the part to play in those operational roles as well. Okay, so like the examples given in the digital enablement, then patient-centric patient-centric focus. Why? So because today's trial modes are more focused on needs of the patient rather than the clinical sites. So, and yeah, eventually pandemic has also told us everyone that the patient cannot go to the site. So eventually it is like the patients have to use the digital applications and everything to put their daily data, because they are going to get the treatment, but they'll have to put the data as well. So yeah, and that data is very important. So and we need to work on this patient data for the safety purpose as a whole purpose of the clinical trials, right? Okay, so and also high quality data. So usually if the quality is poor, it increases an inaccurate, increases chances of inaccurate decisions. Like you understand it's a big clinical trial. If you just give make a small miss out on small criteria to be assessed, or the on the data point data point of view, it can lead to a big impact, because that's important of high quality data. So that's what is expected from the clinical trial. And there where CDM roles again come into between, with the complexity and the number of data, amount of data which we deal with. And obviously it can cost the pharmaceutical company millions of dollars if any false positive conclusion is there made on the clinical trial. Okay, so eventually with all these things, it is data managers have become using multiple technologies, and forcing playing a major role. They tend to use a data science concepts for dealing with the data from diverse sources, harmonizing them, formatting them. And for the clinical research, research scientists, for them to make it very easier to analyze where this trial is going. So we are the backbone where the research scientists will provide, assess the data on how data we are giving to them. Based on that, they will analyze. All right. Okay, so this is a typical CDM organogram. When you join any company, it's obviously it's in a typical organogram. Why I've written typical is like the generic designations which happen to be there as you grow as a clinical data manager. So from junior to senior clinical data manager, then lead to principal data manager, where you lead the studies. Then you have associate director and the director level, where you lead the lead data managers and principal data managers of multiple therapeutic areas. And then obviously clinical data management head and clinical operational head. All right. Next comes important, who will hire? So lots of companies, you can see there are like contract research organization. You can go back and check what contract research organization do. And we will obviously cover like few aspects, like what are the differences between CROs activities, how they deal with, and how pharmaceutical companies and every companies deal with in the future sessions. So contract research organizations like PRA Health Sciences, then ICON, then IQVIA, you must have heard already of. So yeah, all these are contract research organization, and some others are like medical devices manufacturers like Medtronics. They also need data managers. It's like everything has data in it. So all these things are the employers where we have a chance to get recruited. All right. So knowing the data. So like I already said, how data is more important. You have to understand that when you deal with the data, why it is becoming more important, that you have some data, but you should not be rushing to, okay, I have this data, I have this idea that there should be a drug for it, but you have to assess that how it is safe for the humans, how it is possible, what is the risk you have, that you cannot just jump onto and do any clinical trial. right? You can perform any clinical trial based on any data. So you don't have to rush. You have to understand what type of clinical data is expected, what are the outcomes you're expecting. You have to know if you have a protocol, you have to know the protocol. The reason we had the previous slides on understanding the study design and type of research and what is the process and which phase. So everything there is in protocol. So as a data manager, you need to know what is the protocol saying and what all aspects you will be touch basing on this particular study. There is one protocol for each study. All right. So also understanding the limitations and foresee the risk, do a reality check, assumptions. Okay. So you say, okay, there are assumptions, the technicalities is like data is, assumptions and everything. Yes, it does. But when it comes to clinical data, no, metaphors do not work. Like I have said there, with data, you have to do analysis and get the number right. Eventually, it is for human safety. So everything you do here with the clinical data, there is always a difference between the technical data on other domains and the clinical data you're dealing with is related to human safety. We cannot just play around just like that, right? Okay, so next is how data flows and where in which part of data flow I'm processing, CDM roles are included. So there is a collection of data which starts. This is a very basic thing, which it's just which happens each step, like analyzing, integration, transformation, visualization, and submission. So this goes in the flow, start from point one to point. So when you get study protocol, you say, like I said here, it's a study protocol, and then you what next? You as a data manager, you will be given a study design, a study protocol. So these are the steps, like data management plan. You have to work. Then there is a CRF design where you will be involved, database design you will be involved, data capture, data validation, data log. So all are this during the process till the data goes through statistical analysis. And the CDM roles, it's just not clinical data manager. You have multiple hats and multiple roles in this. So every step, like for example, in designing phase, you see database designer as playing as a part, then data analyst, study data lead, who will overlook all these activities all together because they are study data lead, data review associates who will be part of data validation, data capture, how data should be captured, how it should be clean, how it should look when it goes to database, before it goes to database locking, because locking is irreversible. I mean, obviously unlocking happens, but it costs lots of time and money to everyone. So it is usually recommended to, before database lock, the data should be super clean. All right, and the quality control associate. So once the data is reviewed, there is always a quality check done to the data. So you are, as a CDM, there is also one role which does in the quality control. So if you are keen in checking what is the quality or like accuracy of the data, that is also, you are expected to have 100% accuracy on clinical data. All right, then it proceeds to reporting of the statistical analysis, and then the data is published as the data sets. All right. So when, okay, you have everything, what are the competencies required? So I don't say that you should have, have learned this by now and everything. No, it's not necessary, because many of the things you might not know. What are the competencies that might come off as a clinical data manager? But that's what we are going. That's the reason we are having this session and the certification course as well. So you need to have good computer skills, obviously, and which will include the technical, like minimum requirement of MS Excel, MS Word. And also there is a technical aspects, like if you get stuck on your computer, how you have to. So you need to know the system, the technical. It's just not, outside the system. Then you have extensive knowledge of IC and GCP guidelines, which is followed for clinical trials, and also clinical trial regulations, which we'll touch base later on in the sessions. Can you mute yourself? Sorry. Thank you. So, okay. So yeah, clinical. Yeah. So extensive knowledge of IC and GCP, clinical trials regulations. So these are some technical words you might have, okay, well, we don't understand it. You don't have to understand it right now, because we will be taking, to understand all these things later on in later sessions. Okay. Then what other skills you should have? Coordinating and management with the stakeholders. It's a teamwork, you guys. Data manager is not just you'll just sticking to your work. It's a team manager. So once you will have to coordinate, like what time things are coming to you, what time data is coming to you, the unclean data is coming to, what time you have to deliver the data, what role you are, what level you are at the data cleaning status, what are the timelines, everything. So you need to be in touch with all stakeholders involved in that particular clinical trial, which you are part of. Okay. Risk assessment, analytical thinking. Okay, so you get the data is very raw. You need to think about it, how the data will work, how it will be helpful, how to simplify it. So that's how, the thinking process is you can build yourself. So obviously the flow of thinking won't appear just the day one you start working in data management, but yeah, once like we covered, like how the data, how the protocol is working, you will eventually end up analyzing how data works. All right, then you should have good documentation practice. In CDM, it is always said, thing which is not done, it is not documented. Okay, so make sure you should have, you keep a good documentation practice, even simple mail communications, which has critical information you have told your lead or your manager, or, something has come from client, should be in mail, and those mails are archived as well. So yeah, make sure whatever work you do, you document it very well. So that's the thing. You also portray yourself, how good you are at the work, and, obviously eventually takes it to the grow as a data manager. Right, then think out of box, eye for detail, problem solving skills, time management, and ability to motivate others, and self-confidence. So yeah, these are the skills, competencies, which are usually at the management. I cannot say specifically for clinical data manager, but as a management point of view, these are the required skills which you develop when you start working with this this method of clinical data manager post. Okay, so why you should pick CDM job? So you might have question. Obviously, everyone has like, what's the growth of the job? Or am I eligible or not? Am I not eligible? I just saw in the very first question, there was one question, if it's biostatistician, MSc biostatistician has to do with the CDM jobs or, CDM process. So yeah, this might answer your question. So there are two type of group we see here when they are aspiring to grow in any field. Like one, they want a work-life balance. One, they are still young, they are energetic to aspire to grow more, to they have aspirations towards clinical research and everything. So yeah, basically it will touch base, like it will give opportunities to both the group. So like for those who want work-life balance, CDM job has a flexibility. So and thanks to pandemic, most of the companies have now turned to giving the flexibilities and home-based jobs and hybrid opportunities. So it becomes very easier for who has a family and everyone, and they're like home parenting and everything, to manage well. Okay, so yeah, that is a big perk. And obviously it has the challenges, because it's a rewarding job, because you accept the challenge, and it's not a big challenge like you cannot do it, but yeah, it keeps you updated with the new challenges coming up. And also there is an also with rewards, it's like it comes as CDM domain is a revenue generating domain, if you see. Okay, so they generate as per the task is achieved, they generate revenue, and that's the reason why they have bonus based job. It's called a high bonus based job. So most of the companies I have seen, no, I won't say everyone, but yeah, there are bonuses involved in most of the CROs and pharmaceutical companies where CDM job is involved. Okay. Next is CDM plays an important centric role for during clinical trial. I have said enough earlier how which the step data management is involved, data manager is involved, but yeah, this is and also they get exposure to all functional group. So if for the people who are aspiring, like they want to grow in clinical research, they are more interested in data analysis, data skills. Clinical data management will give you a good background, because clinical data managers are now exposed to all the skills, all the technologies involved to run for human safety clinical trials and give the best for the people's life. So here you say is help you play a part to help make a difference in people's life. All right. And last but not least, but transferable skills like project management. You learn lots of things like management level, line management, and even the programming, those who are keen from data management. you have a programming skill or the database skill, you want to learn any, there are like, it's not only one database data manager is working on, it's like several database data manager is exposed to, and it's only you who can see how you want to see the data. As a data manager, you play a critical role how the data should be seen on the screen and how it can be put it out for the cleaning. Okay, and of course the salary thing. So Salary Explorer survey says that approximately 12% of hike is seen in every 17 months in for the data manager roles. All right. Okay, so like Dr. Ajit introduced, already give you an introduction to the course we are launching is called Accelerated Course in Clinical Data Management, which will be offered by Climate Research Solutions. Okay, and I'll take you through, key takeaways and what all we are going to brief about, what are we are going to cover and why. All right, so what will be the key takeaways will be touch base of basic to intermediate concept of clinical data management. So it won't be only basic, it won't be very advanced, but yeah, to start as a clinical data management basic to intermediate, which will cover most of the clinical data management activities, right? Then we are including interactive sessions to enhance the communication and understanding the subject. So you'll be given opportunity to interact, communicate what questions you come on during the sessions or after the sessions, and understand the subject well till you know that what you are doing, what you are reading. Just not go through the the slides and you will understand. No, we are giving you interactive, making it interactive because you need to communicate in this industry. Okay, so and also you will be exposed to latest CDM industry trends. So like IT industry, all industries are also, it's if you see an overview, you just see, okay, and the IT industry is trending, okay, it's going lots of upgradation, ML, AI, automations and everything. Yeah, similarly CDM industry has also lots of enhancement and a big evolution in CDM industry. So you see that those trends while we work on during the course. Discuss and decide career prospect in CDM, that we will take in detail. And also a big thing, you will get certified once you finish this course. Okay, that will be a value add to your resume, of course. So, and what are the main core contents we are going to cover is like 30 hours plus modules, assessments and quizzes, interactive sessions, and also many things, many activities which will include the skill development process, okay, for you guys. 30 hour CDM. I'll just take you to 30 hours CDM and what skills you will develop. So like Dr. Ajit already introduced you, I'll just take it short, like I have just shortened the module to give you an core idea about what all things we are overall going to cover on this course. It's like from basic to clinical research and clinical data management basics, to the technical skills like MS Excel, MS Word basic, and terminologies used in CDM, which is also important for you guys to know, because you just can't hit your head every time. Okay, you don't have to by heart it, but you should know it. Okay, then other things in study setup, like 3 important phases of the study where you will be working as a clinical data management would be setup, conduct, and closeout. So setup, we are going to include the whole concept of setup, how the process flows, what are the important documents and activities, and how, which is the more important documents like protocol and data standards being followed in the industry. So these things which happen at the course start of the study, we include those individual topics. Study conduct, we check into how the study design is there. So not necessarily you will always start working with the setup. You might get started with study conduct. So you should know the study design as well, and how the data validation is, the data checks are done for the accuracy, how the study status looks like, which is very important. Every step you need to see if your study going well as a data management point of view. Okay, and study closeout, which will be our data cleaning processes, migrations, publish checks. You don't have to understand all the technical words right now, because obviously this is the part of, these are the just headers, but overall it will be like study closure. So it includes all these things like database log and storage and documentation. All right. Other skills you learn, Like I earlier mentioned, what are the competencies you need to have, grow yourself as a CDM professional. So yeah, during this course, you learn communication and presentation skills. You'll be given opportunities for a lot of activities to get involved, study and time management, problem solving and decision making, observational analytical, documentation, very important, teamwork, very important, because you need to work with team. You won't be an just person doing just your job and just finish it off and go away. So yeah, you need to have a good teamwork approach. And also the personalized training on how interviews take place, how CV writing you'll have to do, because not everyone will have all the experiences before, any experiences, CDM, not CDM. So you need to put your CV in such a way when you are applying for a job, in such a way that it does make impact. And obviously we are um, not going to put everything in or anything. Okay, it is obviously relevant. So it will be a very you'll have to know what you personally good at, and you have to write that down. All right. Okay. So I think we are done here for the introduction of the CDM and how the CDM roles takes place. So yeah, I think so now I can open up for questions. And Dr. Rajit, yep.
Yes, Neha, thank you very much for the wonderful session. And, all the audiences were with us, and they have, learned it really nicely. And you have explained, how did you explain these things